Everybody, thank you for your patience. We haven't rehearsed this yet, so give us a break. So I want to welcome everybody. I hope you've been having a great time this weekend. I'm Phil McKeena, representing the committee that put this whole thing on. At this point, before we get started, I just want to recognize the committee. If you're on the reunion committee, can you stand, please? Bill Baird made all the arrangements for having this lovely venue, put together the adult fountain, bought dessert, did a lot of good stuff. Rick Farley, as you probably know, was our entertainment director. Actually, Rick did play the piano and sing in one of our meetings, so maybe get you back a little bit later in the year. Okay, Allison. She's been involved with all the decorations and a lot of the last minute details. Whistle. And also, her brother was kind enough to provide the whistles that are on your tables. And everybody gets one. We would ask you to refrain from using them at this point. Allison's brother was in the class of '69. And his wife, and they're from Mayfield, and so it's courtesy of them. So thank you, Allison, and your brother for that. Dennis Jensen was our treasurer, did a great job. And using his abacus, who did a remarkable job. Gene March was our database guy, and he did a great job of putting down people. Phil McKeena and Cindy Pugh D'Angelo was a member of our committee, and unfortunately, she passed away not too long ago, and we're very sad to hear that. Cindy sent me an email before our August meeting apologizing for not being more active on the committee. That's the type of person she was. So we'll remember her fondly, and we'll recognize other classmates who passed away a little bit later in the evening. Ellen Schutte Taylor. Ellen, even though she was living in Columbus, she did a great job of follow-up and helping the committee in any way she could. Let's see, Sue Snow Eastman couldn't be here tonight, but she was also on the committee. Diane Walter Diamond did a great job. She managed the Facebook. She really brought a lot of you here tonight, and we're very thankful for that. Unfortunately, Diane couldn't be with us tonight, so we really appreciate the work that she did. Sue Downs Allen. Sue? She did the design for the memory book, which I think you'll agree is quite outstanding, so we thank you, Sue. Carrie Friedman Rosen and Karen Hall Cheatham were also on the committee, but they couldn't be here this evening. Betsy Law Pogorski. Betsy was in charge of Wally. So. That's
the hardest
job. Barb Markman Palumbo, she was one of our super sleuths. She helped find a lot of you people. She's very good at hunting people down. Walt Pogorski, I don't think he had to keep track of Betsy. But Walt did an amazing job on our memory book. He was very active on it. Larry Saponaro. Larry was our sergeant at arms. And Larry's work is not done. He's on duty till the end of the weekend. So keep that in mind. Dennis Shelby was our memory expert. Dennis gathered all the material for all the displays that you saw out in the lobby and helped us put the PowerPoint together. So, Dennis. And last but not least, Jim and Tom Strickler. Jim's going to be playing music a little bit later tonight, and Tom's been in charge of the picnic and also, as you saw, the raffle. So it's a great team, and we had a great time putting this together. Hope you enjoy it. Okay. Very excited to introduce our speaker for the evening. Stan, we knew him as Stan Savransky in high school. He now is Stan Savran, and it's a real pleasure to have Stan with us tonight. Stan is known as the godfather of Pittsburgh sports media. He's been an institution in Pittsburgh. We wish he were over here doing the same for the Browns and the Indians and so on. But he hosts Pittsburgh Pirates and Penguins pregame shows. He hosts the Mike Tomlin Show and his press conference. Host of Savran on Sports on ESPN 970. Sports anchor for ABC Pittsburgh affiliate WTAE-TV. Was the play-by-play announcer for Penn State football and many other things. So it's a real pleasure to have Stan with us this evening.
Thank you, Phil. I'm not an institution. I do, however, belong in one. There is a difference. As everybody gets some coffee, you may need it to stay awake during this. I would suggest that. You know, it's funny. I do this every day. And I do it for much larger audiences than this. And I can say, after all these years, I am never nervous. Tonight I am. I have to say. We know you. Exactly. But I've already discovered a window in the men's room that I can escape quickly. I've already been threatened by the sergeant at arms. And what great reunion doesn't have a sergeant at arms? I mean, of all the jobs that you can get, you can't have a good reunion without a sergeant at arms, although in our case, it's rather a sergeant of short arms. Is he laughing? Can you reach me from there? He threatened me with throwing rotten tomatoes at me if he didn't like what he heard. But then he also said he was going to buy the rotten tomatoes at a supermarket that closed 30 years ago. So I feel fairly safe. We're going to let you go back to telling your half-truths and lies to your classmates in just a little while. So don't worry about that and tell them how great you've done. So it won't take long. Also, in addition to Sergeant at Arms, if there are any disruptions in the audience, the ghost of Mrs. McKee will come around and your light. I'm sure she's there somewhere. I want to also offer my congratulations to the committee. It was months of hard work, and I know because I didn't do any. So I know how hard they actually worked. You saw me wearing uniform number 73. What you probably didn't know is that Chick Beach awarded those numbers based on your IQ. And since you know all the members of the football team, I was one of the highest. So what happened in 1965, other than Mayfield finally got rid of us? The Beatles visited America in our junior years. Fortunately, Donald Trump was not president, or we could have deported them immediately. And I remember distinctly, and I know she's here, Sue Sitch was the biggest Beatles freak that there was ever. And if everybody remembers, Sue, are you here?
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah, she was.
Hey, Sue, we
And then
gotta
after the
talk.
fact, Patty Ferris has picked up the mantle. She's the biggest Beatles freak there ever was. But if you remember when the Meet the Beatles album came out, all the girls loved them. All the guys secretly loved the music, but they couldn't say it out loud because they had the hair, and we used to make fun of them. We liked the music, but we were jealous of them because all the girls were paying attention. And I thought about that, and I really liked their music, and I was criticizing them, and I said, oh my God, I sound like my dad. Stop that immediately. Pop-Tarts, first time they ever came out, and of course now we yell at our kids for how they eat. You got to register for the draft. And what a thrill it was to go down to Fern Bell Brindley's office and have to sign that registration form. 1965, breast implants became available for the first time. Now, I had mine removed. Ladies, we get a show of hands. Or guys, can we get a show of hands? The Academy Awards, look at the three tunes. They were all musicals, which must have made Mr. Troy and Mr. Huff absolutely thrilled to death. Some of the prices, look at the price of a home, the inflation rate, income, that amount of income per year. Bill Bear tips that much in a year. Loaf of bread, 21 cents. I pay 5 times that for each one of my cholesterol pills. Some of the inventions that were actually considered inventions back then, you know, some of us used to make fun of the guys and gals in the audiovisual club. I wish I could do some of the things they could do, because today I still can't. Some of the products that were available, you can go ahead and flip it, Phil. Some more things that were brand new. Some of the games that came into being for the very first time. And as we get to the music, the top 10 songs, now you know you're in a golden age of music when Wooly Bully is the #1 song. I mean, you know, we're talking classics, Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. If you go down toward the bottom, Crying in the Chapel by Elvis, now we know why he was crying. They ran out of Quaaludes, which was upsetting. And the number, we don't have a list of it, but the 30th song that year on the Billboard chart was Hang On Sloopy by the McCoys. And so, I have to mention you Buckeyes out there, Dave Elliott and Jane Blackburn and Rose Piazza, Stevie Farley, Jan Milliken, all Ohio Staters. That one is for you. Now, these are the TV shows. Now, it occurs to me that the juxtaposition of Get Smart and Green Acres doesn't quite fit. Petticoat Junction was on there. That was Dennis Jensen's favorite show. But knowing Dennis, he just watched for the petticoats, so he couldn't care less about the show. Here are some of the dances that we were doing. Yeah, go back one if you can. We don't want to insult the twist. I remember 62 freshmen, sophomores. There was a party at Karen Pollock's house. I wasn't invited. I just showed up. And Karen, you were the best twister I've ever seen. You were the absolute best twister. Now I can't twist the cap of Viagra off without calling the neighbor. Other dances that we did, and by the way, when the music starts, please feel free to demonstrate any one of these songs that you can do without calling an ambulance. By all means, go right ahead. Here are some of the cool cars that we drove. I remember, I know Joe Cicchino's here, he had the coolest GTO. He took us for a ride on 271, it had just opened, and no one used it. No one knew how to get on and off. And of course, some of us drove our mother's Chevy Bel Airs, which wouldn't go 30 miles an hour downhill. I got Joe GTO in the back seat, and I don't know how fast he was going. I think he broke the sound barrier. Never been so scared in my life, Joe. Thanks to you for being a good driver. And the cars back then were so big. I mean, they were great to go and park somewhere. Now the cars today, you can't get to second base without having the airbag go off. They're not nearly as good. Relationships. Trigger finger. Trigger finger. Go back a couple, Phil. You can. There you go. Yeah. Haven't changed a bit, have they? But they were, we were coming up, and I'm going to ask a lot of you to stand up when I call your name, just to stand up. As Phil mentioned, some of the people aren't with us any longer. We will be honoring them toward the end. And when I introduce some people, as they say, hold your applause to the end, unless, of course, the applause is for me. Then feel free. But we were sitting around today, Phil and I and Rosemary, partners for life. Kay and Jack, Dave and Michelle, Walt and Betsy, high school sweethearts, and of course, and this hurts me, Bill and Bonnie. Now, before there was Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta, there was Friday Night Fever, Mayfield style. And I don't know about you, but Monday through Thursday for me was all about getting to Friday. And that's all that mattered. That's all that counted, and it was so great. So many different areas. The marching band, let's start. I'm going to ask you to stand. We'll do this as quickly as we can. If I forgot you, stand up and shout out your name. But band members, Joyce Hyman, Gene March, Jane Blackburn, Gary Gideon, Dennis Jensen, Betsy Law Pargursky, Ginger Burks, Evelyn Schuss, Patty Barris, Carrie's not here, Sue Krupp, Linda Hansen, Janet Burt, Karen Sterrick, all members of the Mayfield High School marching and actually, I was a part-time member, but I didn't march. I was busy getting my ass kicked on a football field, so I helped out a lot. The cheerleaders. We've got some here. There were cheerleaders from the junior class too, of course, but these are from our class. Linda Malinowski, Kay Gurney, Gail Merriam. Stand up, please. Wave so we can see you. Although I have to admit, I think Kay cheered harder for the baseball team. Is what it is. These are some things you have to do. Homecoming, the majorettes, I'm out of turn here. We've got some here. Patty Bythway is not. Lynn Horn is here. Donna Gambates. There she is, right in front there. And Karen Winterstrom Nelson was here at the foyer. Had a chance to communicate with her. She had to go to a family wedding, which is either fortunate or unfortunate, I suppose, depending on how the marriage turns out. But she really would have liked to have come. She was obviously very active. Which leads us to homecoming. And we've got members of the, if not the Queen, then members of the board. We did cheerleaders, right? There we go. Members of the court. Diane, who wasn't able to be here. Kathy DeVero. Kathy, you're here, right? Please stand. There she is. Gail Merriam, standing up twice. Also, Bonnie was a member, of course. And Karen was the homecoming queen, and I'm sure that she has fabulous memories of that night. With one exception. I was her date, so I'm sure that was a blight on her memory, and hopefully she can exercise that demon. Now, the articles here, I knew these articles were going to get in this presentation. I had nothing to do with the presentation. But I knew since Phil wrote them, I knew that they were going to appear, and sure enough, here they are. Our undefeated team. We were honored last night, and let me just interject this. There were so many great things about last night, and I'll get to this more at the end. Somebody asked me, was it cool being on the field? And yes, it was. Taking part in the coin toss and all that. But the best part of all of last night, at least for me, only speaking for me, was when the football players were standing on the field and being recognized. So many of you were taking pictures of us. And I can't tell you what that meant. I can't tell you that you were so much a part of what we did, pardon me, and we were so much a part of what you were. When I saw all of you taking pictures on your cameras, and I talked to some of the other guys, and the same was true. Thank you. You have no idea what that meant. All right, stand up, please. Danny Agresta, Larry Sapinero, Bill Baird, Dave Elliott, Rick Farley, Walt Pajersky. I didn't tell you to stand up yet. Oh, you are standing. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were sitting down. This is it, huh? This is as much as you get. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It was a privilege being your friend and playing with you. And there were so many, of course, who are not with us. And again, we're not bypassing them. I was thinking, though, there were 18 seniors, and each one of us was a captain 1 week, and then we elected Bill and Alan Takac as the permanent captains. And I don't want to be maudlin, but it struck me last night that 5 of the 18 are not with us anymore. Astounding. But we haven't forgotten, and we won't. In addition, we had some great football players who picked up for the rest of us who weren't. And we're going to meet the 4 all-conference players. Jim Alfieri couldn't be here tonight. He actually was an unfair advantage because Jimmy was 25 when he was a senior. And when we played junior high football together, he was the only one who drove to the game. We were 13 and he was driving to the game. Bill, of course. How Bill stood us is amazing. I mean, Bill was a scholar. And as I said, the IQs were pretty much true to the jersey numbers. But Bill, he was kind of above us and aloof, and it was probably a good thing. Alan Takac, they're still trying to tackle him. No one ever did. No one ever did. And Larry, it's so good to see that you've grown over the years. Those are our all-conference football players. The great thing about our class is that it wasn't just athletics. We were good in so many different things. And this is a poor juxtaposition, again, kind of like Green Acres and Get Smart. We're going to talk about the all-academic team. And putting that up against the football team is probably, there should have been a better transition there, Phil, but they appeared. The only academic that we ever knew was this TV show. It's academic on Channel 5, remember that? Well, on September 28th, 1964, our team did something that the football team couldn't do. We only tied Painesville Harvey, they beat them. And they beat them by more than 30 points. Ralph Haverfeld, Bill Stiglitz, Dan Purdy, Ralph is here. There you go, Ralph. Stand up and let them see it. There you go. You helped raise our teams by half a point. Thank you for that. In addition, let me ask you a question. Who still has their senior yearbook? Raise your hand, still have it. Show of hands. Who still can't figure out who signed what? They signed with a nickname. Everybody signed RMA, but I mean, if you still look at some of those signatures, I looked at my yearbook, some prep work for this, and I'm sorry, I should have brought it and have you identify yourselves, but I wonder if that happens. It was great, and I'm so glad that I still have it. Holly Beth Kamen was the editor. Holly Beth, stand, please. Where are you? Oh, I thought she was going to be here. Another lie. Don Mueller, Sue Downs, please stand. You were on the committee. Steve Dell with our class president. Other clubs and activities. These would have fitted perfectly at Mayfield. My favorite is the future optometrist. Look at the picture closely. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the wood burning club. That was one of the worst things about moving to the new school. There was no wood in there. The old place, yeah. And I think the future optometrist club, the faculty advisor was Mr. Mahusky. You remember him, shop teacher. I won't tell you why I thought of that. So those are some of the clubs that we thought would have fitted very well at Mayfield. We had some great musical productions. Agent Gilbert and Sullivan actually made its way to the halls of Mayfield High School. They were probably immediately turned away by Mrs. McKee, but that was the school production. And those who are here, who appeared in that production, Alice, and pardon me for using maiden names. Is that still politically correct, or should I be saying family names? Is that okay? Just to limit the confusion. Allison Giese, Jean March, I think that's Jean's married name. Bill DeCenzo, he didn't make it, and Jane Blackburn. All appeared at HMS Pinnacle. And we weren't the only teams that won championships. It's academic, football, wrestling. Inherit the Wind, voted the best drama in the state. Mr. DeGregory directed the play, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Bongo eyes. It was called Inherit the Wind. Now none of us can catch our wind walking upstairs. But it was #1 in the state. And some of you were proud of us. We were equally proud of you. I know Jim Cradaville's not here. He had the lead. Karen Pollock, you were brilliant. Karen, stand up, please. There you go. Ralph Haberfeld, twice. Get up, Don Mueller in the production. Everybody, Don. Larry wants those cookies. Don't think you're getting out of here. And I also want to recognize Patty Burge. I was talking to Patty last night, and she was very active in theater. Not necessarily on stage, but working on the productions. And as someone who's worked in TV for a long time, the true talent is behind the camera. Those you don't see. So Patty, did you stand? I did. You snuck it? There you go. All right, Phil. Our basketball team. We weren't all that great, but we were tall. About the best thing I can say. Greg Fenninger, Mike Mackin, neither of whom are in our class, and I saw Dr. Mike last night. Mike Moses was at the hotel last night, was on the team. Kenny Miller, Tom Vasco, Dave Bardu, who I think lives in the same cabin that the Unabomber did. He won't come out. I was on the basketball team for a while until the coach, Tom Eibel, found my true skill was as the statistician. I was much better with a pencil than I was a jump shot. And Dennis Jensen. Stand up, Dennis. Our wrestling team, fantastic. I want to mention, I think a great friend, and I'm going to refer to him later, he was one of the great teachers and great people, Ed Ferris. He was just fantastic. He, of course, was the coach. The team was anchored by the Podgorski brothers, Johnny and Walt. I'm not allowed to call him Wally anymore, otherwise he'll put me in a half Nelson or whatever it is. Too much touching for me in that sport. Different era. Captain Dave Elliott. Dave, stand up. All right. Now, some of you may know that Dave's nickname was Lumpy, and the reason was he would come out of wrestling practice with these unbelievable lumps on his head. That's where the nickname came from wrestling. And I remember Dave, they had the poor kid wrestling at 133 pounds. I've got shoes that weigh more than that. And Dave would come to lunch every day, starving himself to make weight, and his lunch would consist of one hard-boiled egg and one orange slice. That was it. Sometimes a little bit of a treat and a little bit of lettuce, which was really nice. He looked forward to that. But he did it, and he was a great wrestler and a great captain. Also from our class, Mark Chappick, Jim Alfieri, Dave Hess, no longer with us, was a tremendous wrestler. And I've saved the best for last. There aren't many state champions in your midst. We've already talked about the drama team, but individually, Walter Podgorski was a state champion. He set the record, still a school record, for the fastest pin, 14 seconds. State champion, 175 pounds. Walt Podgorski, stand up, Walt and I both went to Miami of Ohio. One big difference, he ended up making something of himself. And you came a long way from a guy who bought a convertible with no top. If you have never heard that story, oh, he was so proud of his brand new car. Hey, Walt, put up the top. And there were nothing but bars. There was no cloth. He bought, he saw the car, he liked it. It was red, wasn't it? Red and black?
It was blue and white.
Oh, blue and white? Well, whatever it was. The top, you still didn't have a top. I'm sorry, that's only been 51 years ago. I couldn't resist. So congratulations, Wally, the car notwithstanding. Phil also wrote about the track team, 10 lettermen, some really good track stars, and we're going to include cross country here as well. Alan Ojampa, we recently lost him a few months ago. He was one of I'm sure one of your favorites too. He was just a great, he got us. I'm not sure Beach ever did, but I think Ojampa really, he knew what he was dealing with, because I think he was a lot like us, to be honest with you. Co-captain Dennis Jensen, stand-up guys, Bill Baird, Roger Forty, Roger, I know you're here, Jim Ritchie, Tom Gent, who starred in cross country. Steve Bell's not here, I guess, huh? Oh, is he? Steve, stand up, our class president. There you are. Okay, sorry, Steve. You blended in with the curtains there. Do me a favor, jump up and down once in a while. Let us know you're breathing. All right, the baseball team, let's put it this way. The record was not commensurate with the talent available. Which means that there were a whole lot more knuckleheads than there were baseball players. Several, Al Stock was here last night. Gene Marks was on the team, Kenny Miller, Rick, Dave Elliott, Al Takis, David Vardu, Alfieri, Stopko, myself. The problem was, our coach was Buffalo Bob Smith, And remember Buffalo Bob? He was about 14 years old. And he was brought in to babysit us. The problem was we ended up babysitting him. And that's kind of the way that worked. So we didn't have a great record. Who remembers the last week, well maybe you don't, of our senior year? Pandemonium. Did you secretly used to look at Wildcat with Kitty and hope your name was in it? Fess up. I think we all did. The study halls with Chick and James to Gregory. Leparo's, still the best pizza ever. Still the best pizza ever. The Coliseum where we had, is this Leparo's still there?
Target now.
Oh, well, whatever. When I was a kid, it was Leparo's. Coliseum, I still wonder if they raised their insurance premium when they found out we were going to have our senior party at the graduation. Do you remember the Browns championship? You better remember it. It's the only one since, so you better remember it. I was at the game. I was talking to Dave Bendow. He was at the game. So you better remember it because I think it's going to be a while. Or there's another one to celebrate. Squire's Castle, whatever you did there, I know. That was the site of the fantastic, fabulous Fall Festival of Fun and Frolic, organized by Rocky, Kenny Kalis, Stand Up Rock, every year, yeah, Fall Festival. And of course, Miller Headlands, before the lake became a liquid version of Chernobyl. You can actually go in the water in those days. Some of the things that were cool in our senior days, Lardy, that stuff, I saw some on YouTube recently, it's still funny. He's still funny. And something you may not know, his real name was Ernie Anderson. His son, I did not know this, P.T. Anderson, wrote and directed the movies Boogie Nights and There Will Be Blood. I did not realize that. So, a lot of talented family. McDonald's, where else could you just make a lap around McDonald's, buy a hamburger for 12 cents, and sit there all night long? I mean, it was the best bargain going. Of course, we were an equal opportunity class. We also tortured Kenny Kings. We had to do that as well. Remember the magazine sales and Lou Ramacone? Speaking of great guys, you didn't even have to speak Spanish to sell magazines with Lou Ramacone. And I was struggling, I think we were juniors when we didn't go to school for like 5 weeks. There was a blizzard, I think it was late '63, and then we finally went back to school for an hour and a half, and then it was time for finals, and we got 2 weeks off, and we were supposed to come back and it snowed for another 2 weeks. I did my best academic achievements during those 5 weeks. And skating on Bill Stiglitz's pond in his backyard. Unfortunately, the only one of us who knew how to skate was Lance Leota. But we did it anyway in galoshes and whatever. The whole idea was to see who you could run into and knock over. That was the whole idea of that. The final week, we had it all mapped out. But I don't know about you, my senioritis hit somewhere around June of the previous year. I was ready to go. But these were some of the official events that we had planned for that week. And the funnier ones were things that weren't planned. Sidewalk surfing, we were way ahead of the game. Surfboards, yeah, 1965, Lonnie Kimmel, Roger Fortney, ahead of our time. Beach Boys, you know, your big decision was, what kind of Madras shirt should I wear? Especially, and that's from Karen Lockemer, and I didn't remember his last name, but I remember his first name, a kid named Scott Thomas. Came, I think, our sophomore year, direct from California. And he had long blonde hair, and he was a surfing dude, boy. And within about 2 weeks, everybody was combing their hair the same way, but except for Larry, he couldn't. Because Larry had to use a magnet to get his hair to move. But Scott, anybody remember Scott Thomas, the surfer kid? I think he was only there for a year. He had an influence. He had an impact. Graduation. Now, Oh, a homecoming. How did I get a hold of myself? Oh, prom. I'm ahead of myself. Was there a better choice? Could there have possibly been a better choice for King and Queen than Bill and Bonnie? I don't think so. Yeah. Graduation. Now, be honest. Be honest. Is there anybody in the room who knew who Frances P. Bolton was before she spoke at the commencement? Good for you.
Ralph knew, Ralph knew.
By proxy, you're all elected to Congress. I will say this. We were just looking to get out of there. I don't know about you. And give me my diploma and let me go. Phil McKean and Steve Dell actually responded, giving Frances B. Bolton a standing O. She was done. Now, I don't know if they gave her the standing O just because she finished, as opposed to what she had to say. And post-graduation, so many of us, yes, we're near the end, so many of us went into so many different avenues: military, college, nursing, trades, homemaking, teaching, nursing, journalism, some in real journalism, others in what passes for journalism, what I do, business, whatever it was, many other areas. And we've all found our way. And I'm sure there are times that you wondered, where am I going? How am I going to get there? We got there. We got there. And I want to honor our Hall of Fame members, Bill Kitchener, Dr. Lance Leota, Don Mueller, Walt Pogorski are here. And it's obvious that they went alphabetically. They got to the S's and said, all right, let's, I thought they should have skipped to the T's immediately, but it's a great honor. I just wanted to say a couple more things, if I may, and I'll get out of your hair. And, when I got inducted to the Hall of Fame in '91, I remember the first thing I said in my speech was, this is a big deal to me. I loved my days here at Mayfield. And it was a big deal to me, and I was so honored and thrilled because I loved my time there. And again, I don't speak for everybody, I'm sure, but I loved it. And this to me has kind of a Cheers feel to it, where everyone knows your name. Sometimes with a name tag, but by and large, after a couple seconds, everyone knows your name. And that's the way it feels to me. There's a song, an old song by the Oak Ridge Boys. These are the best days of your lives. And I'm sure people have had great times and great memories. But for many of us, these were the best days of our lives for any number of reasons. And I haven't lived here for over 50 years. But this is always going to be home to me. This is my home. And you people are my friends and my family, because even though we show the divergent careers that we've all gone on, the paths we've taken, we share something that you cannot share with other people you've met along the way. We are the same people. We grew up in the same area. We grew up with the same values. We grew up experiencing the same things. And you will not be able to share. Closest friends that you have, you cannot share these moments with them. Only with us. And that's what makes it so special. You are such a big part of me. Because we're all the same person in that regard. I have no friends. No. Period. Well, I'm getting to that. Don't ruin the punchline. The friends that I have made, none of them are as great and trusted as the friends that I have in this room And some of them who are sitting here, I met them 60 years ago. And none of them are as dear to me as many of you in this room. And I thank you for that. And I mentioned Ed Ferris earlier. A number of years back, it was a number of years after we graduated. I don't remember when it was, what the occasion was. And I ran into him somewhere. Hopefully, the way I drive, I didn't run over him. And I was surprised that he remembered me. It had been at least 15, 20 years maybe. And we talked. And I said, do you remember all the classes as long as you've been teaching? And he said, you just talk about being home. I would not have done what I did professionally without Gene Schmidt. Gene Schmidt is the one who suggested to me, you should think about being a sports announcer. I never thought of it. He suggested to me as I was about ready to graduate. He didn't do that back then. But I ran into, and I said, Mr. Ferris, I said, do you remember all the classes? He said, no. He said, but I remember your class. You guys were special.
That's right.
And you know what? He was right, and we are. Bill, thank you. I love you.
Thanks, Stan. This is going to be hard to top, so I'll keep it brief. We've had a lot of fun putting the reunion together. Great committee, and I hope you've all had a great time. One of the things that makes it truly special when we get together as a committee is we're able to reconnect, as Stan had alluded to. It's wonderful to reconnect with friends from long ago. So we enjoyed that aspect of it very much. On the other hand, it's a little disappointing. You can never pick the right date, the perfect date. So there are a number of people that just could not make it tonight that I'm sure we all would love to see. And some of those folks had scheduling conflicts, and others have some physical challenges that prohibit them from being involved. So let's keep them in our hearts and souls, and also let's remember the people that have passed on from our class. Unfortunately, the number is approximately 60 out of a class of 400, so we've lost a lot of near and dear friends. Jack Lowther was probably the first one immediately after high school. We lost a number of good people who served our country during the Vietnam War. Over the years, we lost many others. Fairly recently, we lost class leaders like Bill Kinchner and Bonnie Beasley Kinchner. And then most recently, we lost Cindy Angelo, who was a member of our reunion committee. So that's been the downside of this whole experience. Walt has done a great job of remembering them in your memory books. So I would suggest that maybe you take a few minutes at some point and just kind of go through and remember who those folks were. I also would like to just take a moment of silence for the people that have passed from our class. Okay, thank you. Hopefully, ending on a higher note, we have several announcements. If you were, hopefully you kept your same chairs, good musical chairs, but there are some chairs that have stickers on the bottom, and they won the table decoration. So if your chair has a sticker on the bottom, you won a table decoration.
You found the sticker. Oh, you found the Yes, I did. I thought they were great traveling class.
Class of 69 for the American Whistle Corporation table decorations. Feel free to use them after the reunion. Okay, some people have suggested that this whole reunion thing was a guise for a birthday party celebration for Carolyn Hannah Bryan. Where's Carolyn? So, why don't you join me in singing happy birthday to Carolyn? Linda Mancini also. Linda? Okay. Okay. All right. Happy birthday. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carolyn. Happy birthday to you. And now we have a special presentation by Jean Marsh. Jean?
Well, you want me to get the mic or am I do it off the fella? Okay, we have had 5 reunions. We had a 5, a 10, a 20, a 40, and this one. And every reunion had a different committee, and they were all chaired by Phil Makita, who thought when he ran for vice president of our class, did not know he'd have a lifetime job. And he's done a lot of heavy lifting for us over the years, so he deserves a great round of applause. 2 days ago, Betsy Law Pogorski told me that there was a snafu at the 20th reunion. And she told me that we listed in our 20th reunion memory book, which I have right here, we had 8 people at the 20th reunion that we said had passed away. And the second one on that list was Roger Burens. And Roger's here tonight. Roger wanted to see the 20-year memory book. He took a picture of it so he could tell people. And everybody around him that was listening to this said, well, was he Catholic? He came back. Now, the current reunion committee, we started with information from the 40th reunion. And in the 40th reunion memory book, which I have right here, we listed 28 people that we thought had passed away. And the first person on that list was Constance Beck. And Connie is here tonight, Stan. Now, a sad thing happens when you get on that list, and that, well, these are sad things, but they're comic as well. When you get on that list, your classmates don't call you anymore. The next reunion committee isn't looking for you. So you can imagine my surprise earlier this year when Connie emails me, and she said, I've heard we're having a reunion. I've heard from other classmates, and we're glad somebody's working on it, and I want to come. So we got her contact information, and later on in the email he said, but why are you telling people I'm dead? So right around then, when we were working on the website, I don't know if it was Walt's idea, somebody's idea, that we should not call these people dead, we would call them reported deceased. There aren't snafus. So later on, and that's what we did on the website, we called them reported deceased. And later on, we had another snafu. It didn't take very long, and someone, one of our classmates, who should remain nameless, told me that he gave me the names of two classmates he thought had passed away, and one was Frank Frizzell. I don't think Frank's here, but we put it on the website, and it went to Facebook, and all of a sudden Facebook erupts, and there were plenty of Frank sightings. So he made a pretty big comeback, and we fixed that. Not too long later, Ralph Haberfeld emailed me, and he told me that he found his name on it as reported deceased. But then he complained we misspelled his name. Haberfeld. Not too long after that, we looked hard for Bill DeCenzo, and unfortunately Bill couldn't be here. We thought he'd make it. Bill has MS, and he's in a wheelchair, and I guess circumstances, turning, and he didn't make it here tonight. But we thought, we couldn't find him. When we looked for his brother, we couldn't find him. And it was harder to find people this time because people who had dropped their landline phones and just relied on cell phones, you couldn't find them through internet search engines. But then Patty Berge emailed me and said, I think, oh no, I may go back a bit. One of our classmates' mother said, he used to live down the street from me, and he passed away. So we had him on the website as passed away. And then Patty Berge emails, and I think he's alive too. So we ended up making connections and found him. So when you sum it up, Frank Frizzell was dead for a weekend, and we had misspelled Ralph for about 2 weeks. And Bill DeCenzo, he was without us for about a month, and he's come back. But Connie Beck was dead for a week, for a decade, for a whole decade. So we have an award for Connie, and the award reads, Mayfield High School Class of 1965, Best Comeback. Connie Beck Sutherland. Come on up here. Here we go. Ta-da! Kiss you on the cheek. Congratulations.
It was funny.
Just a couple more quick items. Hopefully a lot of you have been taking pictures, and we would encourage you to put them on Facebook, or maybe send them to Walt to put on the website. Would that be good, Walt? Or
Yeah, the information's in the back of the book.
okay, yeah. I also understand Cheryl Boylan told me there's a Oakville School Facebook page. Is it?
Oh, how cool.
Okay, so I want to check that out.
Did you go to Oakville?
Potluck picnic tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Alumni Pavilion near the stadium. Very informal potluck. Bring whatever you want. There is a BYOB, and Tom Gent told me he's just going to go because you're allowed to drink on school property. So hopefully you folks can come tomorrow. It should be a lot of fun. Also, we're thinking about, this is a new idea, having an annual picnic on the first Saturday of August every year. So hopefully that'll allow us to stay connected. And so we've already reserve the Alumni Pavilion for August 6th, 2016. So hopefully that'll work out. We'll see how it goes. Okay, two other things. We're going to have a 50-50 raffle. And then, where do we decide we're going to do group photos kind of out in the lobby? Has anybody ever really figured that out? So it'll be kind of awkward, but it'll be a chance for as many of us to get together and take pictures as possible. So the 50-50 raffle, Tom Strickler. Tom on the way to the Bahamas. So the total amount for the 50-50 raffle is $730. So that means the one winner will get approximate. We haven't had Dennis Jensen audited yet. So approximately $365 will go to that individual. The balance will go to the Alumni Association. So, you want to, Nancy?
The winning number, it's a white ticket, 395020. 395.
We have it.
He's Brian. He's Brian.
And they love you. Are you sure? Read it again. Are you kidding? I don't believe it.
After the audit, we'll give you your money.
Yeah, right now. No. I don't.
Congratulations.
But I gotta.
I guess that concludes the presentation. Once again, hope you had a great time. We'll try and do some pictures out in the lobby, grab some dessert. We'll have music and just everybody enjoy the evening. Thank you.